In our discussion about empowerment and team development, there's something else I'd like you to consider, and that is mentoring. Mentoring is one of those processes that's kind of often misunderstood, and there's a lot of stigmas associated with it. There's also, strangely enough, a lot of fear in some leaders in why they don't want to choose and mentor others. Now let's talk about mentoring for a minute and what it is. Mentoring really is a formalized process of growing and developing a talent in your particular operating environment. It involves experiential activities, formal activities, and other methods to transfer knowledge that you have that has made you the leader that you are to others in your organization. Now let's talk about what that looks like. Good mentoring takes on a lot of different facets. And the first thing that you should consider is making mentoring opportunities open to anybody that wants to do it. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to accept everyone that wants to do it. You just want to make sure that the availability is open to everyone. Because if you don't do that, now you're going to get into that language of, oh, she plays favorites, or he plays favorites, or that's his pet. And you want to try to avoid that as best you can by saying, look, I'm open to mentoring everyone, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the best candidates first, and I need to know why you want to be mentored, and it's not just, a feel-good thing. It's something that has some quantifiable metrics and measurements that we've got to hit along the way. So again, make it open to all, but choose who you really believe is your high potential candidate, or candidates, as the case may be. Which leads us into the second thing I want to cover, and that is always make sure that you mentor more than one person. Nothing is more frustrating than putting a lot of time and effort and capital into somebody that you believe is a high potential candidate that'll someday take your job, and they transfer to another area in the organization because someone else sees that high talent and high potential that they have as well. So always make sure that you're mentoring two folks. There's one other reason for that too, and that is that in the event that you do leave, you want to give the decision makers a choice. You want your legacy not just to be with one individual that you've mentored, but you want to give them a choice of folks that you've mentored along the way. Now, a couple of things I want to tell you about operating in a mentoring environment. First thing that you have to do is clearly outline the expectations of both parties. That means you, in the role of mentor, must outline what you expect to have occur. You kind of have to outline your commitment to the person that you're mentoring, and the person that you're mentoring must clearly outline what their expectations. What is it that they want to learn? Where is it that they want to receive exposure to? The other part that is really, really important is mentoring can't be done as a catch-can kind of process. I've got 10 minutes, so I'll grab this person and we'll sit down and talk about it. Mentoring needs to be formalized so that you pick a day, you pick a time of, once a week, once every other week, and actually spend some significant amount of time together. And the other thing I'm going to encourage you to do in mentoring is something that I absolutely took off the table in another leadership competency. If you remember in coaching, I told you never ever tell stories. Don't compare things to yourself and don't tell long-winded stories. Well, mentoring is the one place. It is the one place in your role as leader when you have somebody that you're mentoring that you can tell some stories. In fact, storytelling in mentoring is extremely valuable. And I'm also going to ask you to add an element to those stories too. Talk about where you've struggled and where you've had obstacles, and maybe even quite simply where you failed. Because a lot of times people look at leaders and say, oh man, you've had a charmed life, everything goes perfect for you, and nothing could be farther from the truth. Share those stories of when you had challenges. Share those stories of maybe even when you lost a job. Those become really, really important things to share and help grow them, and also to make a really nice human connection with the person that you're mentoring. The other thing that I'll encourage both people in the equation to do, both the person being mentored and the individual mentoring them, keep very detailed notes of each and every interaction. Talk about in a log form what you've learned, what you've talked about. And that way you can compare that at times to the expectation set. So you know if you're tracking along nicely with that or not.